All right, guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be walking you through an incredible case study of how we added $46,000 in monthly revenue while spending less on Google Ads for this e-commerce brand in the space of a year. So there's going to be some really crazy results in here. If you are an e-commerce brand, if you're a service-based business, no matter who you are, there is a lot of value to unpack on exactly how we made these increases, and I'm going to walk you through it right now. So let's get right into it. First of all, this is a performance evolution that we saw. Last year, we saw 26K in total spend with $103,000 in revenue generated at a 3.98 ROAS. This year, we saw $24,500 in spend, so a little bit less, $1,480 less exactly, with $151,000 in revenue, pushing up the ROAS to a 6.16, right? Incredible results here. 1,500 less spend, 47,500 additional revenue. There's a little bit extra in there compared to the title because we've now buffered all the conversion data through. And a 2.18 increase in ROAS. That's crazy, right? Some people's break-even ROAS is a 2.18, and we're getting that as an increase from year to year. So this is a really, really big jump for this brand, and it represents almost an additional $50,000, essentially an additional $50,000 in profit on Google Ads, right? That's taking into account less spend, more revenue, all really, really good markers here. So as you can see, needless to say, this is a fantastic improvement, right? Now I'm going to walk you through exactly how we achieved this. So the main problem that we're facing in the account was that the PMax campaign was eating branded traffic. So we had completely mixed attribution data. All of our data was very sort of confused, which made the algorithm extremely confused. We had a single campaign reliance. We had pretty much everything relying on this one PMax campaign. Despite the fact that there was so much spend in this other campaign, which was a highly inefficient campaign type that was just rinsing budget, wasting about $14,000 or $15,000 in the space of a month, generating almost no money back, while the PMax was carrying almost everything in this account on its back. But the problem was that this PMax was pretty much just hitting branded traffic. One, because the budget's so low. Two, because the targeting was off. As a result, we weren't able to effectively acquire new customers, and we were missing out on a huge portion of revenue for this brand. So these were the primary problems that the brand was facing last year when I came upon the account. Now, bit of client background. This is one of the biggest brands in their industry. So they sell golf products, specific kind of niche golf products, primarily in the US, and they were not effectively capitalizing on the search traffic that was coming through, especially during high volume seasonal times. Like I said, the campaign structure simply was not set up to capture the actual traffic that they were trying to capture. It wasn't there to set up, it wasn't there to capture all of the customers that were coming through at the really high times of year. So during the golf season, during the summer months, they were completely missing out on all that potential additional traffic. And then during the low volume times, they were overspending as well. So not only that, but they were getting very poor advice from Google reps. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever been in touch with a Google rep, they often have suggestions that tend to boost Google's revenue, but not always your own revenue. So you have to be very careful with the suggestions they make, and very discriminatory, or very discriminate of the suggestions that you actually implement, not of the people themselves. They had never invested into professional Google Ads management. So like I said, they were just running off of their own kind of instinct and some help from Google reps, which was completely destroying their performance. But on the positive side of things, they had a wealth of account data. Despite the fact that it was being run poorly and it had a poor structure, we were gathering so much data in the account over a very long period of time that the algorithm did actually have really good signals on what their ideal customers looked like. They had so much conversion data, so much purchase data, that the algorithm knew exactly who to target to get sales when we had the right structure. Overall, what they just needed was a complete account makeover, complete account overhaul to fix up any kind of structural issues that they were facing, of which there were quite a few. Now, when it comes to the actual overhaul itself, this is the strategy that we followed. There were 5 main pillars to this overhaul. First of all, there was brand segregation. So we allowed this brand segregation that we performed, allowed the account to be properly optimized and data to be accurately analyzed. As I've spoken about many, many times in most of my videos, when you mix branded traffic and non-branded traffic, you will always find that your data becomes a lot more muddy and a lot more difficult to properly discern and analyze, and then hence improve your account following that. Second pillar was competitor traffic theft. This is a bit different, but we were able to take advantage of the brand's existing influence in the market and steal competitor traffic, right? Pillar 3 was demand alignment. This is where we just ensure that budgets are being adjusted effectively for seasonal demand. So as it surges into the summer months and falls off into the winter months, we made sure that everything was aligned there and it wasn't an sort of inefficient spend cycle. Strategic expansion then, we expanded our targeting and campaign structure effectively while pruning away low quality existing campaigns to make sure that we had the right campaigns in the account, running at the right budgets within the right structure. And then finally, we had our big PMAX pivot where we amended the PMAX campaign targeting to lean away from branded traffic and move further towards prospecting traffic. So now I'll walk through each of these pillars in a bit more detail and break down exactly what we did for the brand in order to effectively overhaul each of these segments. First of all, brand segregation. Like I said, I think I talk about this in almost every video on my YouTube. It is probably, it's very common in almost every Google Ads account being run by business owners, right? Or by someone who isn't a Google Ads professional. And what it does is it causes Google to rely too heavily on bottom of funnel traffic and prevents effective prospecting, which then prevents you getting new customers, prevents incrementality, prevents your brand from ultimately growing, and it just makes you rely on your existing customers, which is a one-way path to a gradually declining business. So if you're not fully aware of what branded traffic is, just to clarify, it's people searching for your exact brand name. So for example, if your brand was called Peter's Pans, it's people searching exactly for that. Not people searching for frying pans, searching for Peter's Pans in particular, your brand name, people who already know about you, already want to buy from you, and already probably will buy from you, but you're just making sure you capture them at the last step of the funnel. Now, this brand segregation can be easily remedied by adding negative keywords to your PMAX campaign, which is now possible in PMAX campaigns. Previously, you'd have to upload a list to Google support in order to implement it on PMAX campaigns, but now all you have to do is go into the campaigns tab, go under your audience's keywords and content, select keywords, and you can input negative keywords for your PMAX campaign, which will be super helpful for your brand segregation here. Next up, competitor traffic theft. Now, this is one of my favorite strategies for boosting overall revenue and expanding your targeting capacity. It's a little bit different. It's not, just standard non-branded targeting, and it's something that you can really benefit from. If you have existing credibility or authority in the industry, it makes it very, very easy to benefit from it. Or if you have a major USP or point of differentiation from your competitors. This is one that almost any brand can do, right? If your brand has something that's better than your competitors, so an additional feature, a better price, a free gift with your order, free shipping, express shipping, whatever it may be, right? If you have any kind of USP over your competitors, you can often hijack competitor traffic at a profitable rate. And it's a fantastic way to scale horizontally within Google Ads too, because if you've fully saturated both your branded and non-branded standard acquisition, you can then scale horizontally by targeting your competitor brand names and competitor terms. Now, how do you do this? You create separate campaigns. You don't do it in your standard non-branded campaigns. Create separate campaigns that bid on competitor keywords in exact match format, particularly for comparison-based searches such as competitor alternative, right? So what you want is a campaign for your competitors, one ad group for each competitor, and then within that ad group, exact match keywords just for your competitor brand name. So if you're Peter's Pans and then you have Fran's frying pans, I don't know, these are poor examples, but if you have, your competitor names, you have an ad group for each competitor, and then you have keywords, which are the exact competitor name, but also important keywords, it may be the competitor name plus a product they sell, which you also sell, and you have a better product version. So, Fran's frying pans, stainless steel pan, that would be something you bid on as well, but especially things like a competitor alternative. So, Fran's frying pans alternative. If someone's already searching for alternative, it already means they probably don't want to go with that brand and they want to find something similar. So that's when you present yourself as the obvious choice by bidding on their traffic. Alrighty, next up, demand alignment. So this was just making sure that our budgets are constantly adjusted for seasonal changes. So this brand in particular was spending way too much in the off season and not enough in the on season. So essentially it was pretty much just a flat line of spend, right? You're like spending a consistent amount over the year. However, demand changed drastically between the summer months and the winter months, right? And there was no adjustment for that. Hence, a major drag on efficiency, both at the top and at the bottom. The easiest way to track for demand flux, so changes over time, is by looking at spend, ROAS, and competitive metrics. If your ROAS is decreasing steadily despite a consistent spend, the market and demand is likely contracting, and you probably need to contract your budget with it. So if you're finding that you're consistently spending, $200 a day, just keep spending that over and over and over, and you're getting a consistent ROAS, but then ROAS just starts to slowly, gradually decline over the months, it indicates your market is probably contracting. There could be other factors like a competitor entering the market or a few other kind of things, but in a lot of cases, I see it is just demand contraction. And if your demand's contracting at that time of the year, you need to make sure that you're lowering your budget alongside that so you don't lose efficiency and you can maintain a similar, consistent ROAS, right? So contract budget if you're finding that your ROAS is just gradually decreasing. Then you also got the metric search lost impression share budget, which will tell you exactly how many impressions you are losing due to a low budget. In lower demand periods, this metric will increase, and in high demand periods, it will increase. That's because basically it tells you how many impressions you're losing. So if you have a very high budget compared to everyone else, this metric will be very low. And if you have a very low budget compared to everyone else in your market, this metric will be very high. Also use this to track your demand over time. Strategic expansion. So multiple new campaign types were added to this account in order to effectively capture demand and scale the account. Branded campaign was added for the capture of majority branded traffic. As I mentioned to you guys, there was no real branded campaign previously. It was all kind of just mixed in. So we added this branded campaign so we could just funnel all of the branded spend in here. Obviously, it's getting an incredible ROAS on pretty high spend because it's a very popular brand. But 15 ROAS is really good for a brand campaign. PMAX campaign remained our primary driver of new customer acquisition due to the high performance and surplus of data. As you can see here, most of our spend is going towards PMAX. It just had so much data already in the campaign, so we wanted to just try and shift it more towards new customer acquisition without fully shutting it down. Starting with a completely new campaign would just kind of be a waste because this campaign has already built up a really good cadence of conversions. And if we just try and shift it further towards new customer acquisition, that's perfect for our overall strategy, right? So it was still our primary driver of new customer acquisition. Search campaign, which let us expand into categorical queries. So PMAX often leans harder into like shopping, exact kind of direct product matches, while search campaigns are more categorical, broader, kind of looking at categories, collections, things like that. So we just expanded out in that manner. Still got a really good ROAS there, 3.64. And then competitor campaigns let us capture additional competitor traffic. Like I mentioned earlier, this is our competitor campaign, $100 a day, running profitably. I think 2.52 without all conversion data. This usually sits between like a 2.7 to 3 ROAS with all data inside. And break even is only around 1.5. So we're getting a very, very profitable return from competitor campaigns here, which is absolutely possible if you're a big brand. PMAX pivot, the final pillar of our changes. So our most efficient and high spending campaign, which was our PMAX campaign, needed some serious adjustments in order to increase our incrementality and improve new customer acquisition. Like I said, it was mainly branded, which was not driving incrementality to the brand. Fortunately, this was primarily just a matter of introducing negative keywords along with some exclusions in order to push PMAX in the right direction. First of all, like I mentioned to you guys earlier on, adding negative keywords for the brand name in the exact match format. So just your brand name and any kind of spelling variations of your brand name as exact match negative keywords in your PMAX campaign. And we still had some minor branded traffic coming through PMAX, but what we found is that this is much more likely to be helpful than harmful, as it no longer makes up the majority of traffic, right? Branded campaigns in all aspects, and PMAX in this case, right? Branded traffic is often the last step of the funnel in someone's purchase. So if someone goes, they make, first they see a Meta ad, then they see a TikTok ad, you've paid for both those ads, then they see a top of funnel search ad, you pay for that click as well. And then on the fourth kind of run in with your business, they search for your brand name, your brand comes up. And that's when PMAX often would dive in to try and take that because they already have the data on the person. And then they bring them through to your site and convert the purchase, right? It is actually very important to bid on these people because the problem is if you're not bidding on them and you're a big brand, other competitors will start bidding on them for you and they're going to start selling your traffic like we've shown in the competitor campaigns here. And you've already paid for all those other 3 touch points. And now your competitor's stealing the traffic in the 4th touch point and you've just wasted all that money on the first 3, right? So you do need to be running branding campaigns, and having a little bit of branding coming through PMAX is fine. Just make sure it's not entirely focused on branded traffic because that's just not going to be efficient for you. And that's everything from today. I hope you found that very helpful. I certainly enjoy breaking this down for you. And if you want to see a transformation like this in your Google Ads performance, please feel free to book a call with me using the link down below. We've done this for many, many other brands. We've worked with over 100 e-commerce brands, driven some crazy results, managed over $20 million in revenue in the last, $20 million in spend in the last year, sorry. And This is a quote from Zach, a client of mine, who owns an 8-figure e-commerce brand. So he's very, very seasoned in the e-commerce game. And he says, I wouldn't recommend many agencies, but I would definitely recommend working with Max. So I am very grateful for that comment. And I have a lot of other clients who also feel the same way. And I would love to try and help you out. If you have any concerns with your Google ads or need some additional performance, please just book a call down below. But that is all for me today, and I will see you guys in the next video.